G'day everyone, Jason Nunn, Fisherman's Warehouse, Tuckaway Marks Point. This Friday's fishing report, a little bit windy, certainly from not quite windy at Coltee Creek I might add, but up along the coast there, a lot of southerly wind. Guys, that wind will start to move around to the northeast tomorrow afternoon. In fact, tomorrow morning, it doesn't look too bad, even though at the moment it looks, it's probably about a good 25 knots or better. Of course, last week we spoke about Coltee Creek and obviously the damming effect that's having on the main canal here. So really, we've had a little bit of good news. We hope in around about a week's time, we'll actually have part of the wall removed, and therefore we can have that tidal exchange, which is just so important to this ecosystem up here in the Belmont wetlands, where we're having that tide coming in and we get that exchange of water from in to out. So watch this space next Friday. Hopefully I've got some good news, but at the moment, still really no good news happening at Coltee Creek. If you're going to go offshore, guys, nothing's really changed out wide. Temperature's still there around about that 23, but still a lot of current, and it will take a day or so to settle down. No doubt by Sunday, I think you will be able to get out wide. No real reports of marlin or pelagic fish out there at the moment, but again, it's just a bit of persistence and a little bit of time will tell. You've got some really nice tides this weekend. Of course, you've got a 12:30 high tomorrow, but it's actually 1.81 metres, so it's quite a big tide in the middle of the day, and low tide 6 p.m. So you're going to fish back, and of course we always like to fish in that run in and out period on the last ofs. If you're going to fish on the inshore reefs, we're still getting some nice reports of some really nice reds right the way along the coast, and it's basically Nora Head right through to Port Stephens, so a lot of the inshore fishery fishing quite well. Still a few trag and obviously flathead. But again, I made mention, no real pelagic activity. You're just going to have to pick it. And there's always November when we're leading up to, Christmas. It is a tough time. And some days you can get out there, guys, and catch them. And others you're just struggling. So a little bit of persistence. But obviously, again, with that closure of Ungala Road ramp, it's putting increased pressure on a lot more of the ramps that are around. And I went down and had a look at the Marks Point boat ramp, which is known as Nauru. You won't be launching there, guys, at all. Of course, the Fish Lake Macquarie event this weekend, a lot of guys making phone calls on that. Obviously you've needed to get on to the council website, as I haven't got any material in at work. We haven't been really officially notified by Lake Macquarie Council as to the event, so it's just basically feedback from you guys, our listeners, that have been ringing me through, and I really do appreciate that. So look, we've got plenty of tube worms happening, and we've seen some things start to happen up on the beaches even. That water isn't that bad. It's still hovering in around about 18 or 19. But this week, we've started to see some really nice whiting on the beach. We've started to see dart, and there's been a few mulloway getting caught, particularly on our local beaches. And some of these fish, that's school-size fish, 75s up to 90s. So it's a really good size of fish. And in fact, some of the fish that I heard of were only around about 60. So they're those school Jew that are happening up here on our Belmont Blacksmith stretch. And no doubt, they'll be no different as you get up onto Stockton. And Stockton, of course, with that flush out of the harbour. And we've had quite a bit of rain around in patches, thunderstorms. And there is some rain coming, guys, on Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday next week. Let's hope it gets to the inland, up around Scone and those areas that are in desperate need of a lot of rain. But it's just been enough. And, of course, the prawn run, as it basically waned off the middle of this week, didn't really get into any great heights. I never heard of any guys catching 3 or 4 or 5 kilo, and I still think that a lot to do with what's going up here at Coltee Creek, that blockading of the actual estuary itself here, that wetlands area, not permitting the prawns to get out. So let's hope we can get that in line for next time round. Blacksmith's breakwater, been a bit of a hot spot for whiting, that is for sure and certain, always the last of the tides. Haven't heard of any real bycatch though associated with the odd flatty, yes, but no real bream and salmon and tailor. Of course, I think it's starting to get a little bit too late for that situation now, but throughout Salts Bay, Trevally, some really nice bream and whiting right the way through there. There's been a few kings down at the bridge, and of course that early morning low tide, that run out tide, if you want to jig a few squid on the seaward side of the bridge, really going to be the pick. And right the way up through the flats area and really spilling out into Belmont Bay and back around through to Nesca Park. A lot of whiting in the system, but there is a lot of bream, and a lot of the bream, of course, are still rowed up. Seeing some nice flathead around. Look, some of the guys, it's a bit of hit and miss with some of these flatties. I still think fishing that shallower water and slow rolling our grub tails and paddles working well, but no doubt you can still get into the deeper water and do a little bit of vibing. Been some nice crabs and some really nice crabs, I might add, all fully meated up as well. So no watery ones at this stage of the game, but that's going to happen as we move closer to Christmas when that mating process basically goes on. You've got the first quarter of the moon, so we're going to build back now to that full moon, and hopefully over the next few weeks we start to see some improvement on our weather and certainly some improvement in what's actually happening offshore. Still some good kings in the lake, and really the lake itself has become a real kingfish haven now. Obviously the bridge is always very, very popular, but a lot more fish now getting into the lake and down rigging live yellowtail squid or even live baiting in and around some of those markers will certainly be the key, and no doubt still a few mull away for those nighttime anglers. Guys, all in all, it's going to be a pretty good weekend. I think the lake is going to be a very, very busy place with this little fishing competition happening. And of course, if you're going to get offshore, remember, you'll need to use Thomas Humphrey Reserve. And if you've got a bigger vessel, you're going to have to book a bridge. All in all, stay safe. Let's get into them. Hopefully we can get this resolved over at Coltee Creek. See you next Friday.